All right, guys, we just released on the Med School Insiders channel a video on how AI may or may not be replacing radiologists. And here, I'm going to be reacting to that and disagreeing with that video because what you need to understand is that Med School Insiders and this channel are two distinct entities. On this channel, this personal brand, if you will, I'm speaking my opinion. I'm speaking on some things I have expertise on, but a lot of things like AI and radiology, I do not have expertise on. Which is why when we cover those subjects on Med School Insiders, we will defer to the experts. We'll use our extensive network at Med School Insiders. We have 225 plus doctors. We will reach out to them and also their networks to find those radiologists that have the most expertise in AI and help us make this video to educate you guys in a more objective and comprehensive way. Because if I were to make that video, it would look different. And I don't know nearly as much as these guys do. My experience of radiology was like a 2-week elective rotation in med school and then whatever back and forth I had with radiologist in plastic surgery residency. So with Med School Insiders, we're trying to keep that as objective, as balanced, as factual as possible. And we'll cover some spicy subjects, things like mid-levels versus physicians, and why they're suffering from Dunning-Kruger and should not be practicing independently, as an example. But we'll use data and back that up. We'll talk about various specialties on our So You Want to Be series, but that is always working with a specialist in that field, because they understand it better than I do. The only exception there being, of course, plastic surgery I did by myself. Every other specialty video we did with experts in that field. And for those subjects where I do have the expertise, I'll say my piece. Like when it comes to applying to medical school, most people are gonna tell you,
apply to 15 to 20 medical schools because the average is 17.
And I say average approach, average results, average outcomes. That's not what you want. You should apply to 30 plus medical schools. And I explain more why that's the case with a blog post linked below. So before we dive in, keep in mind, the Med School Insiders AI radiologist video is based on expertise, is based on actual objective facts, based on the data. What I'm doing here in this video is not talking about AI and radiology as an expert. I'm talking about it subjectively because I don't have the expertise there. So again, watch the Med School Insiders video. That is the objective truth and the facts, but this is my take as someone who is using AI in some of the companies that I'm investing in and an advisor to. And I'm excited about the prospects of AI in the future. And here's what my personal take is on AI in medicine. Going to AI in radiology, I want to start by saying our understanding of AI right now is fleeting, because AI in 2 months, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years is going to be completely transformed, completely different. Look at AI just a few years ago versus today, and you'll see that similarly from here to the near future, things are going to change very rapidly. Now that's an important point, because when people are talking about how AI is going to influence any current career path, whether it's writing or art or medicine or lawyers or whatever, they think about how it is today, right now, and how it might be a little like 10% better, 20% better. But there are paradigm shifts that are occurring. And Sam Altman, in his January 5th, 2025 Reflections blog post on his website, he talks about how they're now approaching this new paradigm of AI where they're focusing on complex reasoning, which is one of the biggest limitations of AI right now. And if it can adequately address complex reasoning, then oh my God, a lot of industries, not just medicine, are going to be shifting and shifting rapidly. The next point is how algorithmic medicine truly is. And a lot of people don't understand this. There is art and science to medicine, more science than art, absolutely. But the standard of care that physicians are trained to is largely algorithmic. What I mean by that is in any specialty in medicine, given these 10 conditions, you know there is one thing you should be doing. There is one standard of care. Now, there's going to be a spectrum. Some specialties are far more algorithmic. We have very concrete data. We have a lot of research backing those decisions. Things like cardiology, very algorithmic, very number driven. And then you have things that are far less algorithmic. And I would say plastic surgery is on that side, but maybe still more algorithmic than you think. Because I remember I was attending some events where we would go and chat with I think it was middle school or high school students who were interested in medicine. And a common thing that kept coming up was how certain kids wanted to do plastic surgery because they loved art. And they're like, well, plastic surgery is art and you get to be creative and, you know, art on a human body. And I never really saw it that way. And it's, you know, it's totally fine. Middle school, high school students are going to think that. The lay public mostly thinks that. But when you start doing plastic surgery, you realize that beauty is a science too. For example, in plastic surgery, you have your medial epicanthal fold and your lateral canthal fold, the two folds of your eye. And the positioning and the symmetry of that, just being 1 or 2 millimeters off in the direction, can make you look off, make you look weird, give you the impression of an emotional state that you may not be feeling. So there's much more science to beauty, much more algorithm to beauty and plastic surgery than people think. And also when people think plastic surgery, they tend to think of aesthetics rather than reconstruction, which is again, a whole nother conversation. Now, my feeling of AI in medicine is less that AI is going to be completely replacing any specialist anytime soon, because by the time it does replace that specialist, many other industries will be affected first. And there are going to be larger shifts in society. So the Med School Insiders video talks about that. I agree with that completely. But one thing that I think as a non-expert in AI and radiology is that what's happening here is AI is improving the efficiency of radiologists. So if a hospital previously needed 10 radiologists to do X amount of work, you can make the argument that, well, those radiologists, they're overworked, they're burnt out, they're reading images at an unsafe, dangerously fast pace. So AI making them more efficient is good. And I would say, yeah, that's true. The initial stages of AI increasing the efficiency of those radiologists because there's a shortage of radiologists and they're overworked right now. However, AI is constantly improving, and the amount that AI is going to improve the efficiency of those radiologists will continue to increase, and it may even increase at a logarithmic rate. We don't know the level of AI improvement right now. It's very rapid and we can't predict the future. But there's going to be a point where those 10 radiologists, they went from being overworked, burnt out, stretched thin, to now being comfortable. Yay, hooray AI. It's now helped us be more balanced. But then AI starts making the radiologists even more impressive, even more efficient. And at that point, the hospital says, well, we don't need 10 radiologists anymore. We now only need 5. Okay, so 5 radiologists, they no longer work at the hospital. They'll find a job someplace else. This process continues. And those 5 radiologists with new AI technology become even more efficient. And now you only need 1 radiologist. So now, rather than 10 radiologists, the hospital only needs 1 radiologist or 2 or whatever it is. Again, this is just a thought exercise. It's not specifics. Like, don't take these numbers too seriously. And at that point, if most of the hospitals and clinics in the nation no longer need 80% of their radiologists, then you have a massive shift in the job market. And that's a big issue. And you can see these shifts from much less. If you guys recall, we covered emergency medicine in some specialty updates, residency update videos in the past. And long story short, there was an article talking about a troubled future for emergency medicine. It came out a few years ago. In the subsequent years, way fewer med students applied into emergency medicine. It was a lot more, well, a lot fewer US students applied. I think it was much more IMGs and DOs instead. And as a result, emergency medicine became way less competitive. And the total number of emergency medicine physicians going through training and coming out the other end probably didn't change much, if I recall correctly, because again, fewer US MDs were going in, but a lot more US DOs and FMGs, IMGs were filling those places. But this is just from like a single report about the EM job market. If you start seeing these bigger shifts with AI in the radiology job market or in other specialty job markets, then of course, fewer people are going to want to go into those specialties. There'll be a lot of unfilled seats at residency programs, and specialties will become less competitive to get into for residency, which is good. But on the other end, as you graduate residency and then look for a job in the job market, that's when it's a much more competitive job market because they need far fewer radiologists. And you still have so many radiologists that already were trained from before. They're already attending physicians that got laid off and they're now looking for work. So that is my take on AI in medicine. And that's going to affect other fields in medicine too, not just radiology. It's going to affect the other highly algorithmic specialties. And again, all of medicine is somewhat algorithmic. Some specialties more than others. So again, cardiology, pathology, radiology, emergency medicine, because of the triage aspect too. AI is going to decrease the number of specialists we need in these specialties, cause a shift in the job market, and fewer med students will want to enter those specialties, which again, in the short term is good because we have a massive doctor shortage. But at some point, as the efficiency increases, won't there be a point where a lot of doctors are just struggling because they can't even find work? And then of course, there's the counterpoint, which is that at that point, a lot of other careers, not just in medicine, are going to be affected too, and society is going to be facing a shift. But that might be sooner than we think. I don't think it's going to be in 100 years. I don't think it's going to be in 60 years. I think it's going to be a lot sooner than that. But my friends, let me know, what do you think? Why am I wrong? Comment below.